2022 was a year that had a lot of movies released, and there were a lot of good ones, but there were also a lot of bad ones this year. So I wanted to start a series, because 2022 is ending, going over some of my favorite movies of the year, ranking movies, and with the culminating one being ranking every single 2022 film that I watched. So starting it off, I wanted to look at comic book films. These are my favorite genre of movie. I saw pretty much everyone that came out this year. There are a few that I didn't see. Now, the comic book movie idea, I do want to give credit where credit is due to Sean Chandler Talks About Movies. He is one of my favorite movie YouTubers, and he's mainly the reason why I want to get into talking about movies on here. But I just thought I'd go over it and let's get into the ranking. We have in last place Morbius, which it's very hard for me to give a movie a very low ranking under like a 5 or something. So even Morbius, I gave it a 6 out of 10, which is, it's actually the lowest rating I gave any movie this year. So that's saying something. This movie it was one of the first movies I saw this year. It was about 2 years that it was supposed to come out 2020, and then COVID happened and it got delayed. And I think there was about 5-6 delays, something like that. And this movie just didn't do it for me. I think I had higher expectations than most people did going into this film, and I was very disappointed when walking out of the theater. The only bright point of this movie was Milo. I thought he was a pretty funny character, but other than that, it wasn't really that good. It ended up losing money at the box office, doing $167.46 million. The budget was about $90 million, and to be profitable at the theater, you need to do at least double what your budget was. So they lost money on this movie, which is another disappointing thing. It seemed like they had a lot of different options of where to go, and instead of going with one, they went with all of them. Because in the trailer, there was a scene in the trailer where they had Spider-Man, and it's kind of introducing Morbius into the Sony verse of Spider-Man, and then that scene never showed up in the movie, which also means that the end credit scene kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, having Michael Keaton's Vulture just randomly show up there. I don't know, it didn't quite do it for me, and I was thoroughly disappointed with this film. Coming in at number 8 on my comic book films list, we have Thor: Love and Thunder, another movie which really disappointed me. I had high expectations going into this one as well. I was hoping to see them do something good with Mighty Thor, but ultimately it seemed as if they went more for comedy than the actual superhero side of it. Christian Bale was a bright side of this film. Christian Bale carries any movie that he's in, really. He is my favorite actor. But really, other than that, did I hate it as much as most people did? No. It had its moments. I enjoyed parts of it, but overall, compared to the rest of the comic book films that came out this year, it just did not do it for me. And the ending with Jane was very disappointing, and I felt like it should have been different. I was excited to see what Taika Waititi would do after his very successful Thor film with Ragnarok, after the first two were very disappointing. And I was very disappointed with what he did with this one, and I was hoping it would be another Ragnarok, and it seemed to be more of another Dark World. And coming in at number 7, one where I was debating on if I include it in this video, because it's not fully a movie, but it's also kind of a TV show, but it's a TV movie, if you know what I mean. This is a Disney Plus special, Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special. This, I enjoyed it as something special. It was good. You know, I liked how it was just Mantis and Drax pretty much going to look for Kevin Bacon as a Christmas present for Star-Lord. That was something for sure. Did not go the direction I thought it would go by any means. I never saw the preview for it either, so that may have something to do with it. But it introduced some new characters for Volume 3. And kind of leads us into it, which I am very excited for when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 comes out. That is going to be amazing. I already know the first two were very good, so I have very high expectations for the third one. But overall, was left kind of disappointed with the holiday special. And coming in at number 6, I have DC League of Super Pets. Now, if you guys have noticed, I hope you've noticed this, but at the bottom left corner, I've been including what streaming services you can watch it on, just in case you do have any interest in seeing this movie. But anyways, this movie was actually better than I thought it would be. This is one of my favorite animated films that came out this year. Now, while it may have a lower rating out of my rating system, because as you guys know, like I said, 6 is the lowest rating I gave any movie this year. But I have given DC League of Super Pets 7.5 out of 10, which may seem low to my standards, but it was very close to being an 8. This film, I actually did enjoy it. Now, because it's a kids movie, I found it to be very predictable, which is a factor that lowered its rating a little bit. It was a bigger success at the box office than I thought it would be, doing $203.841 million, which is about $100 million more than I thought it would do. So I was very pleased when I saw that. I really liked how Lex Luthor was the villain of this film, and at the end, like in all kids movies, it all worked out for the heroes. Surprise, surprise. So I didn't enjoy the predictability factor of it, but once again, it was a kids film, so I have to put that into account. But if I was watching this as someone who is not a child, I would be kind of disappointed with how predictable it is, if you know what I'm trying to say. And coming in at number 5, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I have given an 8 out of 10. And it is also the highest grossing film on this list. This film, it was nice to see Sam Raimi directing a superhero film once again, but it left me wanting more. I wasn't feeling fully fulfilled when I saw this film. I think I did like it more than most people did, as I have given it an 8 out of 10. But I was disappointed with, I'm not sure if it was the character herself or the acting of America Chavez, but I think it was more the acting. I was a little disappointed by there. I thought that could have been better. But all in all, solid film. I think they relied too heavily on cameos though, and relied on those to carry the movie, which they did not do. It didn't show up until near the end of the film, and once they were there, it was maybe maximum 10 minutes they were there, which I get it, it's a cameo, but still, if you're relying on that to carry your film, you're not doing your film properly. And starting out the top 4, coming in at number 4, we have Black Adam. This movie pleasantly surprised me. I expected this to be on maybe not Morbius level, but more a Thor Love and Thunder level, and it is very good. I have it at a 9 out of 10, which it seems low being at number 4 out of 9, but taking into account these top 4 films that I have on here are some of the greatest movies that came out this year in general. The comic book films were very good this year. In the box office, this film did $389.377 million as of recording. It is still in the box office, but it has just recently released onto HBO Max and Crave. And this movie did more than I thought it would. I'm going to be honest, I didn't think Noah Centineo would do good in his role, but I was surprised that I actually liked him in his role. The end credit scene, I think that has to be the greatest end credit scene in the history of end credit scenes. And I'm someone who has seen a lot of end credit scenes throughout my lifetime. So that's saying something. When they placed him under the ice and then ended up like resurrecting him, if you know what I'm saying. We're talking about Black Adam here. That was cool. I really enjoyed that, how they realized, no, we need this guy. We need him here to save us from this situation. And see, the thing is with superhero films though, like any superhero film, not Black Adam in particular, but the heroes always win. Except Infinity War, but they ended up reversing that and Thanos ended up losing in the end. But I want to see one where the heroes actually lose and they stay as a loss, if you know what I'm trying to say. I don't want the heroes to always win. It gets a bit repetitive after a while. And this is the movie that kind of made me realize that. Coming in at number 3, we have The Batman, which was actually the first comic book film to release this year. For a movie that came out when mask mandates were still going on and everything. It did pretty well at the box office, doing $770.83 million at the box office, and I gave this movie another 9 out of 10. Robert Pattinson, I wasn't sure how well he would do as Batman. I thought, I'm not sure how good he will do, but he is a top 3 Batman in my opinion. The only Batmans who are better are Michael Keaton's Batman, obviously, and obviously Christian Bale's, who I do have some bias there as Christian Bale being my favorite actor. But this movie did it all for me. It is the Batman movie I wanted to see for a while. Instead of it always being action or something, it was a more detective style Batman. He's trying to hunt down the Riddler, figure out who the Riddler is kind of thing. And I really enjoyed that. The last, I want to say 10, 15 minutes of it felt a bit overrun. And at that time, when I was in the theater, I remember thinking to myself, okay, so this is when it ends. And then 5 minutes later, no, this is when it ends. 5 minutes later, no, this has to be when it ends, right? And it wasn't ending, if you know what I'm saying. So that is one thing that kind of lowers its score by like 0.5, is just the fact that it felt a bit drawn out near the end. But other than that, I really did like Robert Pattinson's Batman, and I am very excited to see what they do with the rest of this saga. And coming in at number 2, we have Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I have given a very gracious 9.5 out of 10. This movie is, in my opinion, a top 2 project out of the phase 4 of the MCU. They did have a lot to go through with this, as the lead actor, partway through their writing of the film, sadly passed away. Rest in peace, Chadwick. You will forever be missed. But it also did a very good job at honoring the legacy of Chadwick Boseman himself. This movie is currently done just under $770 million as of the time of recording, and by the time this video is up, or by the new year, I think this movie will have done $800 million at the box office, which is very cool to see. I don't really have anything negative to say about this film. With the length of it, I thought it might not end up being that good, or that I would feel like near the end of the film like, oh, when's it gonna end? But I felt myself actually being like, that was very good. I wish there was actually more. The end credit scene where they had named the child after T'Challa, that got me. That made me tear up a bit in the theater. But all in all, I was very pleased with this film, and it kind of revived my hopes in Marvel, because let's be real, Marvel hasn't been doing the greatest lately. I think they've been releasing too many projects too close together, and that kind of got them lacking a bit. And finally, coming in at number 1, this one may be considered a controversial placement, but I have the Spider-Man No Way Home The More Fun Stuff version. I was debating on if I even include this on the list, because it is technically a re-release of an already made film, but it had an additional 13 minutes of footage added into it. So, while yes, it's an old film, or old in quotes, not even a year old as of recording. While yes, it was an old film per se, I still have to include it in here. It is Spider-Man No Way Home is, I saw this in theaters 3 times before this. This would be my 4th time seeing it in theaters, right? And every single time I watch it, it makes me cry. And usually with a movie, I won't cry after maybe 2 times watching it. This one has got me 4 times in the theater, and every single time I've watched it at home. And it's just, it hits home, you know? It's called No Way Home, but really it should be called Spider-Man Hits Home. Now, you guys already know everything that happened in the original, and I'm not really going to go much into this, because this is my number 1 movie overall of 2021, which I wish I was making videos like this at that time, but it's better now than never, you know? But it's not a perfect movie, as you can see with a 9.5. But, like I said, this movie, It's very good, and I like the additional scenes. I wasn't sure how good they would be, and I was actually surprised with how much I actually enjoyed them. I wish they were included on the Blu-ray release though, like they had originally stated they would do. So I was kind of disappointed by that. But this was very good, and it exceeded my expectations at the box office, doing almost $65 million, which is more than I thought it would do. And this movie overall has done just under $2 billion. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments down below what your ranking would be, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.